He's like, if I crossed them in the street, I'd have thought that somebody that looked at Liam would have probably been the kind of person that's probably going to give me homophobic abuse when I was maybe 12. Like, being a young teenager, that's the perception that I had. And to now be spearheading this campaign with Liam and to have our campaign continually being financially funded by tanker drivers, for me, it just totally broke down stereotypes. And it is amazing. But that is the thing. Like, this campaign is very, very personal. And we only realised actually quite recently the amount of kind of emotional weight that we're taking on with the campaign. Obviously, my personal story is kind of out there and well documented. And like I says, I mean, I met Liam on the 22nd of November last year, and we ended up, Ty got launched on June the 28th. So in between times, me and Liam were getting to know each other a bit more, and Liam kind of became for me like a confidant, whereby I spoke about a lot of things that I'd never actually revisited. I took him back to the tree that I had picked to hang myself off of when I was 12. I've revisited quite a lot of dark places. And I've went through something of a healing process, and a lot of this campaign is very good for me because it means, I mean, I'm now getting the opportunity to try and hopefully prevent other young kids from feeling the way that I felt. And when we deliver school assemblies and stuff, I always stand up and tell my personal story about the fact that, well, I was 12 years old, I didn't want to be gay, so what I'd done was I picked a tree to hang myself off of. I was going to save up my lunch money to buy rope out of B&Q, and at the end of the week I was going to go and do it. Oh, and by the way, this tree was within viewing distance from my house because I didn't want to be missing for too long when my mum and dad found me. Or when Mum and Dad realised that I was missing, I didn't want to be gone for too long. I wanted them to find me quickly. So I always tell that story because I kind of feel like two different people. I look back on that situation, I look back at that wee boy, the situation, I really feel sorry for him. And I always tell that story in terms to get the point across that there's young gay kids out here who at 12 or 13 years old should be thinking about the usual things that 12 or 13-year-olds think about, yet I was planning how to take my own life just because I was gay. And bearing in mind, like, I'm 20, so this was only at most 8 years ago. And one of the things that really kind of upsets me with the campaign is that we have an email address where we collect people's stories, and we just recently put out our first publication which got delivered to all MSPs, and it was compiled with the personal stories of young kids, people that have recently left school, people that are currently in school, and it's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff that I was going through 8 years ago. Suicidal thoughts, self-harm, self-loathing. There's no escaping this stuff. 8 years later, and it's still going on, and there's been no real commitment from government level.
So what is it specifically that you in the campaign are asking for? What is it you would like to see happen in the Scottish schools?
Well, essentially what our whole ethos is that we believe that the contributions of the LGBT community and issues affecting LGBT pupils should be recognised and taught within all school environments across Scotland. So we've kind of got a few key areas and a few focus points that we highlight. So the first one is obviously teacher training. We personally believe, and it's true, teachers can play a key role in eradicating all sorts of LGBT phobia and tackling the issues that we've consistently highlighted throughout the campaign. So we basically want the Scottish Government to prioritise teacher training. Currently, Stonewall Scotland do an excellent training programme called Train the Trainer, and how it works is a school, it costs £150 to send one teacher to the training programme, and what happens is that teacher goes to get trained and then they go back and they're equipped to train other teachers. So what we've basically said, basically what seems to be happening just now is faith schools in particular, a lot of them are using the cop-out, well, we don't have enough budget to send teachers here, we're getting cut, we can't do it. Out of the around about 3,000 schools in Scotland, only 70 are signed up to this programme. So what we've basically been, what we said when we were in Parliament there was that the Scottish Government should really guarantee that all schools have the financial means to send teachers to the programmes that are available, such as Stonewall's Train the Trainer. Another thing as well that we've also kind of been calling for is that all trainee teachers who are basically in university getting a qualification should receive mandatory LGBT training in order to actually qualify to be a teacher. And then that way, like the issues that I spoke about earlier on, this new batch of teachers that we're going to see can actually be a solution as opposed to a perpetuation of the problem. And the other thing that we're essentially calling for is inclusion in all school curricula and pastoral care resources, whereby, for example, we all learn about Martin Luther King or the Civil Rights Movement, Rosa Parks, the KKK, but a tiny, tiny minority of schools are teaching about Stonewall, Harvey Milk, the equality movement, equal marriage. It's not on the curriculum. And I mean, if you look at the history of the LGBT movement, it's a huge, rich history, and it's also one that's very useful for understanding the kind of discriminations that are going on just now and the similar equality movements that we're seeing across the world in Russia, Uganda. So it's definitely, that's essentially what we're calling for. There's three sort of key areas, but the main priority that we are seeking to address is teachers. Teachers need to be empowered, they need to be given the confidence, they need to get the training to actually deal with these issues.
Michael, can I just make a brief point about the history thing? You know, I'm someone who, due to my political persuasion, I kind of look up to people like James Connolly and John McLean from history. But since becoming friends with Jordan and since fully immersing myself in learning about the LGBT movement, you find there's this guy called Harvey Milk, who was an American politician who was phenomenal. He's everything James Connolly and these people were. He was a socialist as well. He was everything these people are. But without being disparaging to James Connolly and John McLean, Harvey Milk actually did make a difference. He made things happen. So, you know, you look at these guys who you really revere from history, and then you realise it's this guy Harvey Milk who I'd never heard of in my life, and I was never going to have heard of this guy if I never met Jordan. And you think, what an amazing guy. And I'd urge everyone actually that listens to this podcast to actually go and get the film Milk and watch the film. What a fantastic film. But this is something that's completely lost to not just the LGBT community, but to everyone. Because this is stories of a social struggle. This is people standing up and fighting back against oppression. And I don't know about, but I think I do know about you, and I know you from listening to some of your podcasts that you're pretty much in the corner of the oppressed, the same as I am.
Oh yeah.
So therefore, the more people who learn about these people's experiences and struggles and the history behind it, the better.
Yeah, well, they tend not to make films about them as much as possible, or like Hollywood, because they don't like to make films about people that the establishment would perceive as troublemakers because they might give people ideas. But you know, I try to get them on as much as possible. But yeah, the next thing I wanted to ask you then was, so you've been to the Parliament and you put what you've just explained to me is your plan, your three main things. You put that to them, I believe. And what sort of reaction did you get there?
The reaction at Parliament was astonishing, to be honest, because when we launched the petition was calling for the statutory inclusion of this stuff in the curriculum. Now, a brief thing about the curriculum in Scotland is there's only one thing that's statutory in the Scottish curriculum, and that's religious education. So you need to teach kids about God, but not about mathematics or English by statute. Now, the thing is, we didn't expect any. We actually really believed our petition had been kicked out because it was calling for a statutory thing to be added to the curriculum. But we got there, and the reaction from the MSPs, you could have knocked me down with a feather, because every one of the 7 committee members really took on board what we were talking about and certainly seemed to want to take steps to remedy this problem. And they were actually, like everyone else I've met, as was I, they were absolutely astonished at the statistics. The Stonewall Scotland School Report 2012 is something that they were absolutely shocked by. There was people there who we thought we might have got some strong resistance from in the committee, and we didn't. So ultimately, we kind of left that room in a bit of a tailspin and pinching ourselves. But yeah, moving forward, what they're going to do is they're going to be writing to all the local authorities, they're going to be writing to specific schools, they're going to be writing to the EIS, COSLA, they're going to be recommending that the government sit down with myself and Jordan and discuss these issues. We will hopefully take LGBT Youth Scotland and Stonewall into that meeting with us, ideally, as well, and present a united front to them. So they're also going to speak to universities to absolutely exhaust every single avenue and see how we can go about solving these problems. So that was really something that we definitely did not expect. We actually thought we might have left that chamber with our tails between our legs, and the opposite was actually the case.
I think, the committee was really kind of, like Liam says, they were totally shocked at what's actually going on. And one thing that they were really quite concerned about was they seemed to think the Scottish Government in 2009 commissioned a toolkit to tackle homophobic bullying, and they gave it out to all schools. So what they were really concerned about was the fact that, hold on a minute, we've commissioned this toolkit, we've given it to all schools, you they were saying to me, you were in school in 2009, you're talking about your experiences. These statistics are from 2012, and here we are in 2015 with a campaign to try and tackle the very stuff that we thought we had maybe addressed with this toolkit in 2009. So they were really concerned about it, really, really concerned. Probably the only negative thing you could have actually taken away from that meeting was the fact that exactly that, they were quite out of touch and they were quite shocked as to what's actually going on, which I don't blame them, because most people that we actually speak to through this campaign, including Liam, there's been loads of people that we've spoken to, and that is kind of the general theme. Well, I didn't think that this stuff would have been going on in school still, and that's what those 7 MSPs basically concluded, was they were really shocked. They did take it really seriously. I mean, we were really, really surprised at the end. At the end, I actually thanked them, and basically just says that, listen, we expected this to get thrown out. We did not expect this to get taken seriously. So on behalf of the LGBT kids across Scotland, thank you for what you've just done.
Excellent.
It's a first step. It's a first step, but it's a pretty big first step. And one of the things as well that we keep hearing is, like I says, we only launched this campaign in June, the 28th of June, which was actually the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which was quite strange. But we launched the campaign in June, and 4 months later we've just walked out of Parliament with quite a really big result. So one of the things that we keep hearing is like that's really rare that a campaign which is this new kind of gets to those levels. And to kind of tie in with the theme of the podcast, that is all a result of the referendum. Like I said earlier on, me and Liam met after the referendum. Had it not been for the referendum, we'd have never met. And also, we were obviously just out of a meeting with the guys at Commonweal. It was actually Commonweal that helped us launch this entire campaign, and basically kind of prominent voices and figures from across the Scottish left have been involved in this campaign from the beginning, including obviously Robin McAlpine, Cat Boyd, Jonathan Shaffey, Josh Brown. There's been lots of people that have really kind of united behind us to really help us out with this campaign. And yeah, this is probably, I think, was it Robin? Someone had said to us basically that this is the first kind of big campaign to actually be born out of the referendum. Me and Liam are referendum babies. And
I've never heard that expression before, sorry. That's a new
We
one.
use it all the time.
Yes, we're referendum babies. So without the referendum, there is no tie campaign. And one of just kind of the overarching message that I would like to get out there, I mean, like, the referendum gave me and Liam the confidence to actually go out there and think, you know what, here's issues. This is how we tackle it. We tackle it through civil engagement. We tackle it through taking the initiative. We tackle it by getting up off our seats and actually going and doing something. And it was that kind of empowerment and drive and passion that the referendum instilled in us that allowed us to launch TIE. And that's essentially the one thing that I hope that our success thus far, I hope it inspires other people to think, do you know what, I don't like X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go and launch a campaign about it, and I'm going to take it on. And that's exactly what happened. And that is the beauty of the referendum, is the fact that it was about so much more than independence. It was about civil engagement. It was about people politics. It was about taking power back into your own hands and addressing the issues in your society. And everyone was always talking about a fairer, more equal Scotland. As far as we are concerned, the LGBT struggle and the push for equality, not just for LGBT peoples, but for women, people of ethnic minority, for refugees, all of these struggles are a vital part of that equal Scotland. And so as far as we're concerned, this is a necessary step if we are going to achieve that truly equal Scotland that we all campaigned for last year.
Yeah, if we want a fairer Scotland, it starts now. It doesn't start later on.
Yeah, Michael, there's something I've been saying now for a wee while, that we had the fantastic Radical Independence campaign who used the slogan, another Scotland is possible, through the campaign. Now, my slogan actually is that another Scotland is still possible, but we'd have to go and get off our backsides and we need to do stuff about it. We need to go and demand that better, fairer Scotland. You know, people forget that there are a lot of things that can still be done and changed within the current system. With Scotland remaining within the United Kingdom, we can still achieve things and we can make things better for people. But what we need is we need people to stand up, get together, get organised and go and take these issues to the people in power.
Absolutely. Agreed. And just to ask, because I always ask every guest who comes on, why was it you were on that yes side, apart from some of the reasons you've already aligned? I'll go to Jordan first, then I'll go to Liam.
I voted yes because being from a minority and being not part of the heteronormative, patriarchal